All right, and we are live. So, what is good, everybody, and welcome back to the ITR Boxing channel, whichever platform you're on. I'm here with a very special guest right now. We have Joseph Santos. He's been part of Team Santos. His father, Bob Santos, they've been on a great run. He's kind of a jack of all trades in sport right now. He's a manager, he's a cut man, he's a trainer, officially the youngest manager in the sport. So, Joseph, how are you doing? And thank you for coming on our platform.
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me on here. It's an honor to be on here with you.
Yes, sir. So kind of anybody who's into this platform, they're a hardcore boxing fan, so I'm sure they already know who you are and the fighters you're working with. But for anyone who's not as familiar, just kind of describe just kind of your place in the sport right now and some of the fighters that you are around on a day-to-day basis.
You gave a pretty good rundown. I'm a cut man. I'm a manager. I just signed my first fighter, Albert Ochoa, and I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I pretty much, like you said, I'm a jack of all trades. My dad, he's been through the sport for many years, over 30 years at the pro game, so he's taught me a lot, and definitely been very blessed to have him.
Yes, sir. And I want to appreciate everybody in the chat. We got someone from France right now, so salute to you, salute to everybody who's in the chat, without a doubt, for sure. And then, so I got a question. So, obviously, your pops, Bob Santos, trainer of the year last year, had a fantastic year, having a fantastic year as well this year. So, how did he originally get into the sport of boxing? And then, at what age did you realize that you kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps and do the same thing?
So yeah, my dad. He's been in boxing pretty much his whole life. Him and his brothers grew up in the amateurs, boxing and fighting, and he really got. I mean, he's been in the sport, like I said, for over 30 years. He's been with a ton of old fighters. You may know, you may not know. Livingstone Bramble, Hector Lazaraga, Carlos Cruz, Joel Casamayor, who most of you should know. And then he really got his big break with Robert Guerrero when he fought Floyd Mayweather, and that's kind of what boosted my dad and Robert into kind of stardom. And I really got into this. I've been around camp since I was a young kid. My dad's been taking me to the gym since I was a young kid. I've been to the fight since I was a young kid. But I really got into it more so into like on a working level rather than just being a fan of the sport after high school. After I graduated my senior year, or around my senior year, is actually when I started going to camps with Barrios. So it was kind of right after high school. I jumped into construction and then right into boxing, following my dad's footsteps.
Then obviously one thing you just touched on is that you guys worked with Robert Guerrero. Your dad was his cut man, he was his manager. So talk about as you being a young kid at that time, just what was it like being part of just the whole event and being part of the whole Robert Guerrero Floyd Mayweather? Because it was a hell of an event. It did big numbers. So what was it like the experiences for you being a young kid and being basically at the highest level of the sport from such a young age?
It was very eye opening. Before that fight, we had lived in the hood of San Jose, more of a ghetto area. After that fight, we were in private school. We were in a gated community in one of the nicest areas in San Jose. So it was an eye opening experience of what boxing can really do. And I remember actually being at that fight. Robert got like three of the MGM Skyloft hotels for that fight. So he gave my family one of them. I was staying in a Skyloft hotel. I was like, it was a very eye opening experience. It was surreal, most definitely. And then seeing all the people that showed up just for the weigh-in and the press conference, and it was insane.
Yeah, that's great. And you've been in experienced a lot of big fights, and it's just a great thing for you because a lot of people go their whole career in boxing. They've never been able to be in under the bright lights or in any of those big fights. So, not just that, or you've worked with Hector Garcia, a bunch of other fighters. Mario Barros just had a great win. So, talk about the experience. I know you've been in even Andre Durrell's corner also. Just the experiences. It's like being in the corner during these big time fights, and also touch on some of the different roles that you've had in the corner. Is obviously you've done a cut man or some of the other things that you might have been doing in some of these corners.
I actually started off kind of just as I wasn't a cut man when I first started working corner. I was just kind of like an assistant, just doing what I could help in the corner, whether it was a spit bucket, water, whatever it was, pulling the cup, whatever it was. And then from working in the gym and sparrings and working more and more fights, even on the lower level, going out to fights in Wyoming, fights in Denver, fights in like I mean now I'm only 22 years old and I've worked over 100 pro fights. So I've worked a couple different roles. Mostly my role in the corner as a cut man, I've worked maybe 2 fights where I was more so the head in the corner, and that was a very good experience, different experience. But for the most part, in the corners, I usually am the cut man.
Cool, cool, cool. And then one thing I'm sure that you and your dad always kind of envisioned this type of success for you guys, even from once you guys first got started. So, what has it been like to go on the run that you guys have been on the last few years and to finally kind of get the respect that I'm sure you guys feel like you've deserved for years?
Yeah, my dad's been chipping away for a very long time. He's kind of he's never been a social media kind of guy, or never, he just got social media in the last year, and that's because I was kind of pushing him towards it. I was like, this is kind of where we're at in this day and age. It can help you out in this way, whatever it may be. So he's always been kind of in the background, in the shadows, just doing his work, chipping away. Didn't really care for the limelight or spotlight. And now that it's on him and it's kind of unavoidable, I'm happy for him. I'm very very happy for him. I feel like he's definitely earned it. He's deserved it, and we're definitely blessed to be in the position that we're in.
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. So your guy Mario Barrios, who just picked up a big win, he's one of my favorite fighters in the sport, just because I feel like he's one of those guys who, first of all, just he's a very respectful guy. He comes off very great in interviews, and he's someone who he's always looking for the toughest fight possible. Like he's never ducking or dodging any smoke. He's able to. He'll sign on the dotted line to fight anybody. So what was it like to be involved? Obviously, he fought on the Canelo Charlo undercard. So what was it like to be involved on such a huge pay-per-view event and to also see him pick up such a great victory against a former champion, your Dennis Ugas?
And just to testify to what you said, you're right. I mean, he never backed down against Tank with the
Mm-hmm.
rehydration clause. He didn't even mention that part of it,
Yeah.
which a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people didn't know about. But he never backed down. He went from Tank to Thurman to Santiago, who I think had only had 2 losses, to
Yeah.
Gary Russell and somebody else, and then straight to
Mm-hmm.
Ugas. So he's definitely willing and able to fight whoever they put in front of him, and that's why he's called, El Azteca, the Aztec Warrior,
Mm-hmm.
and that name suits him very well. But his fight was, yeah, it was a big fight, big event. Um, Definitely one of the bigger events I've been a part of. I've been a part of a couple world title fights now and a couple pay-per-view events, but that one was a little bit different. When you get a draw like Canelo or a draw like Tank, which I've been a part of a couple of his cards and fought against him a couple times in opposing corners. And when you get guys like that, the atmosphere they bring in the arena is different. It's it's really what boxing is about.
Yeah, nah, for sure. And then even to go off of your point too, just about Barrios, where he took the Tank fight, fought great in that fight, did a lot of great things in that fight. So he turns around, he moves up to 147. No tune up, no nothing. He goes on and he takes on Keith Thurman right away. Then he takes on Santiago, who had the good performance against Broner. It was his big game against everybody. And then he takes on your Dennis Ugas. So I can't wait to see, because I know he will continue to be in big fights, because ain't no doubt in my mind he's going to sign on the dotted line against any of those guys at 147. So I cannot wait to see what he has going for. So we got a question from what in the chat. So kind of just expand a bit more on, just because you've been a cut man before, your father's been a cut man. So what makes a great cut man in somebody's corner?
I think the main thing is composure. I think that's probably the biggest thing of being a cut man and just a corner man in general in the corner, because if you have a nervous energy about you, the fighter's gonna feel that and he'll feed off of that.
Mm-hmm.
So the main thing is just composure. I think a big thing that helps me is my athletic background. I grew up playing sports. I played high school basketball and different sports. So I'm a little bit more used to the crowd and things of that nature, maybe
Mm-hmm.
more so than other people. But I think the biggest thing is really just composure, being able to compose yourself and stay calm.
So thank you, what for that question. That's a great question. So there you go. He appreciates the answer too, without a doubt. So and
Thank
then
you.
another guy who I want to speak on is somebody who I believe has the highest ceiling as anybody, basically in the sport of boxing. Someone you've been around, you were in some of his last camp, and that's David Morrell. To me, he checks every single box. He can box from the outside, he can fight on the inside, he can lead the dance with his jab, he can also counter punch. So, what was it like to be around his camp, the experiences from being in the gym with him, and what makes him just truly, just almost as special as a talent as you can basically get in the sport right now?
Yeah. So I spent, you know, a little over a month in camp with him, or a month and a half or so. on a couple different occasions for his last couple fights. So we stay in the same apartment. I stay right there with him. So just
Mhm.
being around him every day is honestly it's fun. His attitude towards everything, he's a really fun person to be around. He's always happy to work out. He's always happy to grind, and he seriously is one of those dudes that he'll go the extra mile. He like just to do it, not
Mhm.
because you're telling him to do it or not. He'll just do it just to do it. He's a beast, like you said. He can fight on the inside. He can fight on the outside. His footwork is amazing. His hand speed is amazing. His power is
Mhm.
amazing. His length is amazing. He has, like you said, he checks every single box
Mhm.
you could check. Um, the only thing he really has to do now is kind of just keep proving himself. He only has 9 fights in this sport.
Mhm.
I think his second or third fight was already for the title
Mhm.
against the guy 22-0, and he's only 24 years, or I think he just turned 25, 24, 25 years old, so he's still very young. And especially for a Cuban, you get a Cuban over here that early. That's nice. So I think his sky's the limit for him for sure.
Yeah, now for sure. And like you said, I think he was 2-0. He fought Lennox Allen was his name, I believe, undefeated guy. Went 12 rounds with him, won every
Mhm.
single round, and
That was
he
the
is
only
kind of.
fight that he's had so far that went the distance. Every single fight other than that one has been stopped short.
Yeah, and especially this last one was stopped very short, obviously against Yamaguchi Falcao, who still he's a very, very tricky guy. He was an Olympic medalist, but David took care of business very easily in that fight too. Just going on him, he's 9-0 right now. He's clearly ready for these big fights. Is he I don't want to say frustrated, but is he kind of eager to get in there with these other guys right now? Even though he's kind of does seem like the definition of a high risk, low reward guy too. So I'm hoping he gets those chances. But does he kind of realize the position he's in? Is it kind of frustrate him a bit at all, or is he kind of just cool with letting things kind of handle themselves?
I think frustrated is probably the right word. Yeah, he's definitely a little bit frustrated with the way things are going. I know he's been calling out a lot of those top guys, Benavidez, Canelo, and he feel like he's getting ducked a little bit. But like I said, I understand from both sides. I understand from both sides. You gotta earn your stripes in this sport. You have to prove yourself. So I understand it. But on the other hand, I mean, he's more than ready. He's more than ready to take these guys on. And I truthfully, it's not my biased opinion. I really truthfully believe that he would beat Benavidez and that he would beat Canelo, both of them.
Yeah, I'll second that. And anybody who's listening to this show, they know that I'm not just saying it this because you're in front of me. I've been saying this for the past year, even before I even met you, anything like that. I've been saying that for a long, long time. So, especially this new age of Cuban, where, as you said, he turned pro younger. He has the big punch and power too. He's an aggressive guy, but if he needs to, he can kind of sit back and he can box also. So, as I said, he can kind of do it all in there without a doubt. So Albert can join us in a few seconds. I know, as you said, he's kind of still getting ready, doing his just getting off of a very good hard training session. But another question I have for you is just you're already in a great spot in the sport right now, but if you could looking into the future, maybe 5, 10, even 20 years down the road, what are some other things that you would like to do in the sport, and where could you see yourself going forward in the sport?
Right. So like I said, I've been blessed to do many different things in the sport already. Be a cut man, be a strength and conditioning, be a nutritionist, even be many different facets of the game. And I think as I grow in this sport, I think I really enjoy training. I really enjoy working the corners. Even as cut man, it's a little bit gross, but I don't mind it too much. So even as a cut man, I always want to stay work in the corners. I love doing that part of the game. I love training, and I honestly, since I've been managing, I've really enjoyed it. It's hectic. It's busy, but I've really enjoyed it, and I think that's something I kind of want to get into a little bit deeper and a little bit more into is the managerial side of the sport.
Yeah, for sure. And then for the audience, a lot of these people, even I have relationship with fighters, especially in the New England area, but I've never been in a corner or anything like that. So talk about even during the fights. Obviously, it's a very exciting thing, but talk about some of the nerves that go through it, just where you're right there and somebody who you love and care for and someone you're working with day in and day out is in the ring. So kind of speak on what's that like, because even shoot, even when I'm in the stands watching guys, I know it's nerve wracking for me. So I'm sure it's even the same and then some for you.
Yeah, I would definitely be lying if I said it wasn't nerve wracking.
Hmm.
It's definitely nerve, but I think it's a little bit weird. I get more so nervous if I'm watching somebody I know or somebody I'm close to from the stands. If I'm working their corner, I feel a lot more. Maybe I'm more in control, so I don't feel
Hmm.
as nervous, or maybe it's just I don't know what it is, but when I'm working the corner for the fight, I actually feel a lot less nervous as opposed to if I'm watching the fight of somebody I'm really close to or spent a lot of time with from the stands. So,
Okay.
but yeah, regardless, even working the corners, I think the height of the nerves kind of gets you when you're they have you sitting waiting to walk out, and there's just
Hmm.
a whole group of people over you talking shit, throwing stuff,
Hmm.
yelling, and but I kind of just look at it more so as excitement. Like I'm ready to go. I don't really think of it as an anxious type of thing. And I think that's what kind of what helps me too. Like I said, I played sports, so you kind of get that same feeling, and that's just kind of how I deal with it.
I feel like it's probably one of those things where it's like each time you do it, you get more and more and more comfortable each time because you've been there and done that before too.
Oh, for sure. And I think more recently too, the last couple pay-per-view events and big fights that we did, I've been more so able to enjoy it and kind of soak it in, as opposed to being a little bit more nervous or anxious or whatever. Now I'm just a little bit more used to the stage, and I definitely know that we have our fighters more than ready and prepared, so that's not an issue.
No, and that's the thing too. Is even when I'm around guys, like you're always nervous of it, but you also have that confidence where you know, okay, I've seen them. They've been doing the work day in and day out, so you know exactly what they're about too. So I'm sure that helps kind of kill the nerves a
Confidence
little.
and preparation, no doubt.
Confidence is always key, without a doubt. So, another question from what from France. So, shout out to you for tuning in, without a doubt. So they saying, ever been a cut man for female boxing? What difference in any? And I'll even go a step further with this question: is now that you're a manager, also have you considered, because the women's boxing market is definitely growing, it's expanding more than it ever has before. So, have you kind of been interested in kind of dabbling in that market at all, or have you already, or anything like that?
There actually has been a couple of female fighters. I think like one of the world champs in bare knuckle fighting. One of the women had hit up me and my father, and then a couple other women that are coming up in the game, prospects, undefeated. Great amateur resumes have we've talked to a couple. We haven't worked totally fully with any yet, but I think that could be something that happens in the near future. And actually, one of our fighters, Angel Chavez, is going to be fighting October 27th on the Amanda Serrano undercard, and she's
Okay.
actually making history, being the first woman to do 3 minute rounds. So that's going to be a pretty awesome thing.
Yeah, no, like you said, that's history. So anytime you're a part of history, that ain't never a bad thing, for sure. So
Exactly.
one thing we spoke on, because I just asked you in the pre-show because I was curious, but for anyone listening too, especially if they know about you and your father, they know that you guys are around a lot of fighters. You guys have a lot of fighters in your camp. So tell them kind of what you told me earlier and how you guys can manage working with all these different great fighters, giving them all their attention and also timing out their camps the way that you guys do.
Right, because the attention is a big part of it. They got to get their each individual attention and whatnot. So we kind of just we have our set times for certain fighters to come in. We'll have a couple fighters come in maybe 9:30, 10, or whatever it is, and couple hours later, a couple more, a couple hours. So we're pretty much at the gym for a good portion of the day, just cycling in through these fighters so they can kind of get their attention. And then like I said too, once these fighters obviously finish their fights, then they're done with camp. They'll go out, visit their families, spend some time with their family, take a little time off and enjoy it until they're ready to come back out with us and get back to it.
Yeah. So, and I know you said Albert was finished a training session. Whenever he's ready, he can hop on too, because we got some questions for him. But in that time period, also, so I know that he's. Are you interested also in dabbling? We've seen the just the whole Misfits thing on DAZN or a lot of these celebrity boxing, and now he's going to be turning pro. But have you ever thought about getting into that and having either signing some of these other celebrity boxers or anything like that? Because it seems to be, I know people have their opinions on those certain things, but there's a lot of money going on in there. So if you're a manager, I bet it's something that's kind of caught your attention.
No doubt. And at the end of the day, anything that's bringing eyes and fans of different areas and different walks of life to the sport, in my opinion, it's a good thing. As long as you're really not making a mockery out of the sport, and you're really
Mhm.
everybody got to start somewhere. So that's kind of my take on it. That's my look on it. But yeah, no, the first and only influencer boxer that I've signed is Albert Ochoa. I haven't really looked too deep into these other guys. My father was actually working with Jake Paul out in Puerto Rico for
Mhm.
a good portion of time, kind of trying him out, seeing what they liked. And he actually really liked my dad, and So maybe that'll be something that happens in the near future. But that's really the only influencer fighter that I've kind of looked at, and he's I think he's a little bit different too, because we're not really too interested. Okay, you can make money, that's great. But we want somebody that's really gonna work. You know, that's not gonna mock the sport. That's gonna give their 100%. And he's done that thus far. So that's what we like about him.
Yeah, like I said, there's always a fine line between those things because you guys are still in the sport for the right reasons, for sure. So speak on the Jake Paul thing a bit now that you just mentioned that. So one thing people say is that he got in late to the sport, and a lot of people have certain opinions. I had certain opinions once upon a time, which I've kind of changed my ways on it, because people always say that he is a really, really hard worker when he's in there and he trains as if he's a real professional. So did your dad see those same kind of things when he was with them in Puerto Rico?
My dad told me 100%. He said he trained even harder than some of the fighters that he's worked with in the past. So he said the work ethic was definitely not lacking. He works like a horse. And I think you could kind of see that. You know, he's improved a lot. His body's looking a lot better. You know, there's things that you can see. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's the I don't know. I used to have my own kind of opinion about these how they started off in the sport. But like I said, everybody got to start somewhere. Not everybody's starting their first fight fighting Floyd Mayweather. You know, you got to start somewhere, and this is just where they happen to start, and they're making some money doing it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think there's different kind of avenues, even in that the whole social media aspect, where there's people who take it really serious, like a Jake or even like an Albert, who you guys signed, and then there's other fighters who kind of don't take it as serious. So I think there's still a fine line between, yeah, you could be more on the influencer side, but some of the guys treat it like being a real boxer. Some of the guys still don't really treat it like real boxers. Would you kind of say the same thing?
And that's 100% the case, which is where you got. I mean, no matter what, you're never gonna make boxing fans happy.
Yeah, that's a fact right there.
So, so at the end of the day, I mean, everybody's gonna have their own opinion, and it just kind of is what it is.
Yep. So we got another question here. This is actually, so we got my pops asking a question about your pops, kind of. So he said, you mentioned earlier growing up around the game with your dad. It's a good question. So did he encourage you to get involved with the sport, or did it just happen naturally as you kind of showed interest?
Honestly, he somewhat encouraged me, but it was a little bit of both. It was definitely a little bit of both. I've always been interested in the sport since I was very young. Me and my brother grew up. We had our own amateur experience and amateur fights, and I always grew up watching the fights, going to the fights, going to camps. But yeah, I guess once I kind of got to my senior year and after high school, he was really more so like, you know, is this something you kind of want to do? Is this something you really want to get into? You've been around it your whole life. And a good idol of mine and somebody I have to look up to is Louis DeCubas Jr. And his father as well, who my dad works with very closely. So that whole dynamic, the father-son duo, that's how boxing's been for its whole history. You know, it's been a lot of family. It's more family oriented for the most part. And I think a big push for me too was realizing that construction isn't for everybody. And 6 months of that changed my mind. I'd rather put 100% of my effort into boxing than into construction. So
Yeah, no, definitely in a good avenue now. So going back on just what we were talking about, or we got a question right here from what real quick. Just, are you aware of any French boxers? Have you either worked any corners? Have you been opposite of any French boxers? So we got a fan from France. So just real quick, any question? If you don't have anything for that, it's all good. But
I'm pretty close with Tony Yoka.
okay.
I believe he's from France, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So I'm pretty close with him. Been in a lot of camps with him, and hung out with him a few times. So yeah, I'm close with him. I've never worked a corner of his though, so not a no on that. But I'm pretty close with him. He's a good dude.
Yeah, so they appreciate it. So we appreciate your comments also. What? So thank you as always. And you said that you had a bit of an amateur career too. So kind of touch on that. I'm not sure for how long that was, and so you can kind of speak on that and speak on. Do you think that gives you advantages now because you've had experiences being in the ring? So now from the outside looking in, how that can kind of help you out also.
100%. And I still, even to this day, I try sparring, when I can, just because I feel, in my opinion, it makes a huge difference uh, when you actually really know what you're talking about.
Hmm.
When you've experienced, it's easy to say, oh, do this, but
Hmm.
until you really experience, okay, well, this is why he's not doing that. His his
Hmm.
liver shot. He can't, so there's. I like to kind of experience even some of the workouts that I do with the fighters. I like to do it with them. I like to experience what they experience sometimes, just so. And I've already had the experience, but I still like to do it just so it keeps me I guess more in tune with these fighters,
Hmm.
and I can okay, now I know why he's doing this, now I know why he's doing that. It clicks more.
Yeah, for sure. Now we'll kind of transition over to Albert now. So I just said he can join us whenever he's ready. I know he's busy, so it's all good if he ain't ready just yet. But
I
just
could go get him if you want real quick. I could go
yeah,
see
no,
if he,
yeah, you can go do that for sure. Yeah, you can go
uh,
check. No problem. Yeah, so obviously I got Joseph Santos with me, so it was cool to kind of get his just some of his opinions and some of his experiences. He's a young kid in the game, 22 years old, but he's been around a lot of these big fights he's done. Bob Santos's father is one of the best trainers in the game, so it's good to kind of get their perspective. And here they are. It seems like they are ready to go. Yes, sir. There we are. So we got Albert Ochoa in the building. So Albert, first of all, thank you for joining us. And how are you feeling right now? I know you just had a hard training session, but how are you doing?
Yeah. No, I feel good. I feel in great shape already, but I feel good. A little sore, but, I'm just excited to be here and keep learning.
Yes, sir. So after this question, we will leave it all boxing, but I know people are gonna want me to ask about this. So clearly, you were the big thing is that the how you kind of named how you got the fame is you took Kylie
Uh,
Jenner to your high school prom. So talk kind of about how that came about and just the experiences of being featured on the show and what it was like having that kind of spotlight on you.
I from there, I mean, yeah, so a lot of people, yeah, I was on a reality show with Kylie Jenner. I took her to my prom, and that just went like nationwide. It's still on Hulu and Peacock and everywhere. Like a blog just posted it. It just got like 20 million views today, which is crazy. So it was a good experience. I mean, she was nice. She's a very beautiful person. But so from there, transitioning to pro boxing, it's been a different journey.
Yeah, so like I said, we'll focus more on the boxing now. I just wanted to
Yeah,
kind of get that covered, so I know people would be asking about that. But so you've already been someone who you have a big following. You've
yeah.
been in the spotlight, these kind of things. So what made you interested in pursuing boxing? As boxing isn't always like these big things. There's a lot of rough and tough things that happen behind the scenes. So what kind of got gauged your interest first in getting involved in the sport?
I mean, when the boxing, just came in, the right people came in the right time, and I figured I could do it, and then I fell in love with the sport, and then a lot of people were tuning in on my fights. A lot of people want to see me win, a lot of people want to see me lose, and then but we're working very hard. We've been winning, and look at all the blessings I've, that are coming my way in this sport is very rare. And it's coming my way really quick, and it's but we're working really hard. I believe in myself and my team. So
Yep. So you've been in the game for a little bit. I know when I wrote the article on you guys, Jay had talked to me just about just your fantastic work ethic. You've lost a lot of weight. So, but how has your training regimen changed, or has it changed at all since you first started training to kind of where you are now, and as you progress?
yeah. Well, I appreciate the article as
Hmm.
well. Thank you.
Yes,
I
sir.
first finally put in the face to
Hmm.
so thank you. Um, from this one, I've been out here for what, a month and a half, but I moved here a year ago. I don't know if you knew that. I was with Custom Mayor for my last 2 fights, no, 3 fights. But moving to this one, we're just learning a lot of more details. Getting really stronger, just reaching another level of like conditioning, which is crazy. So, I mean, we're week 1 in the 8-week camp right now, but it was a great 1 week. So, going into the second week, I'm getting more confident. I feel better, and I'm just excited to fight.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you've made a big splash on the influencer boxing scene. A lot of your fights, they've generated a ton of views. They've been posted on these big platforms. So you're also looking to make a professional debut soon. So what do you anticipate being the biggest adjustment for you kind of going from the influencer boxing scene to kind of transitioning over to the professional ranks?
I think right now is we're gonna get this one out of the way. It's gonna be a 4-round fight. And then after this one, we're gonna talk with Bob and Joey, see what we can do. But it's gonna I mean, I don't train anything different, you know, from if I'm finding an influencer and finding a professional. You know, I'm doing the same work just as all these other guys. You know, I was working with Hector Garcia yesterday. We're doing the same exact workouts. We're doing a lot of things. I'm picking his brain. I'm getting the knowledge from him, and it's a blessing for these guys to look at me as one of them. You know, because I know I didn't grow up in this sport, but they see the work I put in. They're seeing the sparring. They're seeing everything that I'm doing, and I'm listening and I'm just understanding. So. Uh, you know, the adjustment, yeah, there's more pressure. I mean, it's harder, but you know, I love it. You know, this is the sport I want to do, and you know, I see myself going really far, and it's just exciting. I'm only 2 years in, and we've done this. So imagine in another year. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's all came really fast for you. So you just mentioned that you've been worked with Hector Garcia. I know I've seen pictures of you being in the gym with Rolly Romero before for his last fight.
Yeah.
So speak
Yeah.
on just being someone who's so new to the sport, just those experiences you've had with those pro fighters and how that's kind of helped benefit you. Just kind of the sped up process for you, because not a lot of people have been able to
Yeah.
get in the limelight and do these things as quick as you've been able to.
Well, yeah, no, shout out to Rolly. I know he's the champ. He helped me last year in October. That's when we first met. And I know he had Casamayor in his camp with the Tank fight, and they grew up together. You know, he watched them get raised and stuff. Good person. And you know, Hector, you know, I just learning, you know, I'm in where I'm at, and you know, just eager to learn. You know, I don't look at anyone different. I don't hate on nobody. I don't talk mess about nobody. And you know, I mean, greatness flocks with greatness. So and everything's just coming. So I'm very excited, and you know, it's a dream come true. It's a blessing to be where I'm at in such a short amount of time.
Yes, sir. So me and Jay touched a bit on the influencer boxing scene. We said there's kind of two different avenues where there's guys like yourself, Jake Paul, some of those other guys who really treat it as a profession, like they're treating it as like they're professional boxers. And then you see some guys who they kind of treat it more as a sideshow. Like maybe they ain't training as much as you guys. They kind of take it as more of a joke. But
Yeah.
what is your thoughts on the whole kind of influencer boxing scene that we have right now? I know DAZN and Misfits is doing a lot of it. So what are your thoughts just on, do you think, is it good for the sport? Is it not too good for the sport? Does it bring a lot of eyeballs? Is there good and bad with it, or just what are your thoughts overall?
I mean, there's good and bad with anything in life, but I mean, I think it's good. You know, more people are watching the sport. You know, it was kind of my way into this sport. But you know, for me, I'm not just looking at the influencer scene. You know, I'm looking, you know, as a professional career. This is my career. You know, I don't do anything else. We're training all day in the morning, at night. You know, I'm away from my family. It's very hard, you know, and it's hard mentally and physically. But this is what I want to do, and you know, I love my job. And but I mean, I think it's great. You know, DAZN is doing a lot of big things with it. You know, we've actually been getting a lot of offers since, I mean, the signing and even before the signing. But, you know, it doesn't make sense. You know, I feel like the knowledge in my team, you know, we want to go the right way, and we're not in a rush. So,
yeah, exactly. You got a great team behind you too. So as you said, you guys are gonna wait for the perfect opportunity. There ain't no need to kind of rush and just take something when something better might be coming a little bit later. So time is on your side for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Not at all. You know, no rush. No matter how much money it is, it doesn't really matter, because I'm in the sport for longevity. I'm not in the sport for just one fight, you know. So yeah, I'm just being patient, having fun, and people are gonna be tuned in regardless.
Yeah, that's a fact. So we got a question from the chat. So I understand, how did you choose your manager as a new pro? What made it different? So what was it about kind of just Team Santos as a whole that made you think, okay, that these are the guys that I want to have guide my pro career?
Well, believe it or not, I mean, everything I've been doing and my camps and people I've been working with has been on my own. Every fight I've managed on my own. Every partnership I managed on my own. My training from my trainers, I've done it all on my own. You know, besides, you know, the boxing and learning that. You know, just reaching out, just trying to see what we could do. And then, you know, I've been very blessed to work with some great people that were successful in this sport, like Casamayor, you know, Vicente Escobedo. And then now moving over with, you know, Bob and Jay. I mean, it's I just felt like it was the right fit. You know, Bob was just with Jake Paul. Bob is the main man in boxing. You know, he's a great person. He's a great coach. You know, I look at him more than just a trainer. You know, I look up to him as a person. You know, he's there for me. He doesn't make me feel left out. And I think it was the best move for my career, because it's we've been moving, we've been moving and going. Look at everything just in the last few weeks, what we've been doing, and I haven't even fought yet with them.
Yeah, exactly. That whole team with Jay and Bob, all they do is big things. So it's definitely not a bad team to be aligned with. They've been, even with Bob and Jay both, the thing that impresses me is that they've been in these big fights, and Bob also does a great job when he's in the corner of some guys kind of yell too much and some guys kind of give too much information, but I feel like he kind of has that perfect balance in between. So do you see that in the training too, where he kind of has the perfect balance of showing you kind of the certain things, but also getting on you, and kind of just the perfect balance of all those things that make a great trainer?
Yeah, yeah, he's definitely got on me, a few times already, which is what I need. Just
Hmm.
learning new things on how to make my jab quicker and longer, and using my length, because I'm tall, and
Hmm.
so he's shown me a lot of stuff. We have a lot of laughs, but he's definitely hard on me at the same time, and I definitely get a lot of time with him. So I mean, I can't complain. I just gonna
Hmm.
keep learning, keep winning, and this next fight's you're gonna see a lot of improvements, and then the next one, it's gonna be even crazier.
Yes, sir. Let's get it. So, Jay spoke on your work ethic, and there's part of the reason they're so high on you is just that, as I said before, you treat it like a real profession. So, what
Mhm.
are some goals do you have for yourself in the sport? Both like a short-term goal, so maybe something for next year or the year after, and also a long-term goal, like 5, 10 years down the road.
Yeah. So right now, we're gonna get this fight out of the way. That's the main focus. December 9th in Miami. So stay tuned for that on Fight TV. Um, and the long term goals is just I see myself going really far in this sport. We're looking at a lot of big fights coming up. And what I want to do in my career. Another big fight that I want that Bob and everyone sees that could happen is me versus Uriah Faber. Do you know who that is?
Oh, yeah, I know who that is.
That's gonna be a big fight. We're from the same city. He was a champion, UFC champion, and I think that would be the next step up. Going into next year, and we're very excited for that, and we know we can make it happen. And I know I could be ready for that fight.
Yeah, sure. That would be a really dope fight because he's someone
Yeah,
he's a big name. He's been around. People know his name. I'm into
yeah,
boxing, but I'm in MMA too. So even if you're not as much into MMA, people will know who he is. So I feel like that's the perfect. And as you said, you're with the great
exactly.
teams, so they know
Yeah,
exactly how to step you up. And that's a dope fight. I'd really like to see that for sure.
yeah, no, exactly. So we're definitely moving my route very different. Kind of similar to Jake Paul. And other than that, me and him are the only ones that are moving like that. So that's why
Mhm.
I'm not eager to go fight on the zone and fight this YouTuber or beat them up. It's like, why do I need to do that? I'm thinking bigger than that. So is Bob, and so is everyone on this team.
Yeah. So just to that point, do you kind of look at some of these sideshow things like we've seen this week with the KSI, the
Mhm.
Tommy Fury, the Logan Paul, the Dylan Danis, those
Yeah.
antics and some of the crazy things that they do? Do you look at that as kind of beneath something that you would do? Would you kind of feed into some of those things depending on the opponent, or is that just kind of not your lane with some of the crazy things that they've been doing in
Um.
the fight week?
Well, no, I don't look at it anything bad. It's just some people want to stick to fighting certain people. For me, I want
Hmm.
to, like, again, I'm looking at long term. I want to have bigger fights. I want to, we've had offers from them, and it just doesn't make sense.
Hmm.
But right now, what if it makes sense? Yeah, well, of course we're gonna fight no matter where it's at. So right now is yeah, right now we're just focused on this next fight, and then if that opportunity comes across, then we'll see what's up.
Yes, sir, without a doubt. So, first of all, I want to thank you and Jay both for your time.
Mhm.
But real quick, before I know you touched on it quickly, but kind of just give another little spiel about the fight you have coming up, some information on that, and then anyone else you guys want to shout out before we wrap this thing
Yeah.
up.
Right now the fight's gonna be in Miami. I know it's gonna be on Fight TV. I believe I am gonna be a co-main event. So going from main event in LA to co-main, it's still good. No complaints there. But it's gonna be good. I'm excited for this fight. It's gonna be a 4-round fight. The dude is gonna have a few fights, so it's not his debut. But we'll be ready. And other than that, just stay tuned. I think we should make the announcement within this next week or two.
Cool. So, first of all, like I said, I know you were coming off training, so I appreciate you taking the
Yeah,
time
no,
to
for
speak with
sure.
me. If Jay's still
Yeah.
right over there, I want to just thank him for his time also. And then,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
for sure. I'm gonna pass the phone, but yeah, let's definitely set something up. And I appreciate the time.
yes, not for sure. Without a doubt, as we get closer to your fight, I'll definitely cover it and do all those things for it. So, I got you 100%. I appreciate you, bro.
All right, sounds good, brother. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You as well. All right. So, this is
Thank you, Jack.
yeah, yes, sir. Salute to you also. So I appreciate everything you guys are doing. You, your pops, Albert, all you guys in the sport. So we'll be in touch. We'll look at maybe getting other fighters and interviews and stuff set up. But I appreciate your time and everything. And till next time.
Yes, sir. 100% appreciate you. It was an
Yes,
honor.
sir. All right. Peace out, bro.